In the Appalachian Mountains, there are many stories about creatures that dwell within the forests, ancient legends whispered through generations, and reports that were never explained. This is the story of a mother and her 6-year-old son. A story that to this day, no one can truly understand. Seeking a better life, she left the city behind and moved into a small house in the Appalachians. The neighborhood seemed peaceful. Wide yards, a direct view of the forest. It was the perfect place for a new beginning. She, her son, and their dog lived happily. They were inseparable. But one late afternoon, everything changed. The boy was playing in the backyard while his mother went inside just for a moment. When she returned, he was gone. Only the dog remained, cowering in a corner, barking as if it had seen something terrible. The entire community came together to search. They combed the forest for days. Some believed it might have been a bear. Others spoke of the old legends. Days later, the boy was found, miles away from home, dirty, silent, with a hollow stare. There were no signs of violence, but there were no answers either. Back home, the mother tried to cheer her son up, showing him his best friend, the dog, but his reaction was unexpected. The dog growled, its fur standing on end, and tried to flee, as if that boy wasn't the same. From that day on, nothing was normal again. The boy stopped playing. He would sit for hours in silence, staring at the forest, murmuring words no one could understand. And little by little, his mother began to feel drained, her energy fading. Frightened, she installed security cameras around the house, and what she saw in the recordings terrified her. Shadows moving down the hallway, into her bedroom, then into her son's room. On some nights, the boy appeared lying in bed, even though the camera never captured him leaving it. Until one night, she decided to stay awake. At 3 a.m., footsteps echoed through the house. The dog outside barked wildly. She ran to the living room, and there he was, her son, standing still, staring into the darkness of the forest. As time passed, new disappearances began happening nearby. A news report revealed that children's clothes had been found deep in the woods. When she saw the footage, her blood ran cold. They were identical to the clothes her son wore the day he vanished. Desperate, she rushed to the attic, searching through old photo albums to confirm. But as she rummaged through boxes, the door slammed shut, locked. In the dark, she realized she wasn't alone. A shadow moved in the corner, watching her. Panicking, she ran toward the skylight, trying to escape. Almost made it until she felt a cold hand grab her ankle. She screamed, kicked free, and jumped out. Ran back into the house, climbed the stairs, and found her son sitting on the bed. Quiet, as if he'd been waiting for her all along. From that night on, she knew no peace. The dog's desperate barking echoed again in the dead of night. Worried, she went to her son's room, but the bed was empty. Then came a loud crash from the kitchen. She ran downstairs, dishes shattered, pots scattered, no one there. A shadow moved behind her. It wasn't small, it was larger than a child. She turned quickly but saw nothing. Trembling, she climbed back up the stairs, and there he was. Her son, standing in the hallway, staring at her. She called his name. Again and again, no answer. Then suddenly, the boy ran into his room and slammed the door shut. When she entered, he was lying down, peacefully asleep. Confused and terrified, she lay beside him that night. But one question echoed in her mind. If he was asleep, then who was with me in the kitchen? The next morning, she woke up early, her son still asleep. Quietly, she went downstairs, the kitchen still a mess from the night before. But something was different. The dog. He wasn't in his usual spot on the porch. Only his collar lay beside the food bowl and the doghouse. She called for him. Silence. She phoned her neighbors. No one had seen him. He was loyal. He never ran away. She filled the bowl with fresh food, and tried to ignore the unease growing inside. Moments later, she heard her son coming down the stairs. Together, they went to the kitchen where she made his favorite breakfast, pancakes with chocolate syrup. But he barely touched the plate. Without a word, he climbed down from the chair and walked into the yard. Sat on the grass, staring toward the forest. From the window, she watched, then noticed something strange. He was standing now, pointing toward the trees. She went outside and saw it. Between the trees, the dog. She called his name, but he didn't move, just stared. The boy reached out his hand. Slowly, the dog approached, sat beside him. The boy turned and smiled. A smile she hadn't seen in so long. A chill ran through her. She stepped back into the house, watching from behind the glass. Her son and the dog, side by side, staring into the forest. Confused, she remembered the pendant her neighbor had given her. Something inside told her it was time to wear it. And so, she did. That night, she couldn't sleep. Her son was already in his room, the dog outside as usual. Restless, she sat at her computer, browsing the internet. Soon, she stumbled upon a news update. Another missing child case. The boy had been found, but his family was never seen again. Their home abandoned overnight. They simply vanished. One photo caught her attention, a window covered in graffiti. It might have been vandalism, but the symbol painted there was identical to the one on her pendant. What did it mean? She searched deeper until she found it. An ancient symbol, a relic of the indigenous tribes that once lived in the Appalachians, long before modern civilization. A symbol of protection, used to keep evil spirits away. Even with fear creeping in, she finally fell asleep on the couch. Hours later, sunlight woke her. She washed her face, trying to shake off the unease. Then, footsteps, coming from the kitchen. Thinking it was her son, she followed. But there was no one there, only footprints, huge prints, long toes, claws at the tips caked in mud. She followed them as they gradually shrank with each step until they were small, child-sized. Her heart froze. The prints led up the stairs, straight to her son's room. He lay there, asleep, peaceful. She hesitated, then pulled back the blanket. Clean feet. She sighed in relief until she saw the prints continue into the bathroom. They ended beneath the shower. Gone. Panic surged through her chest. Her breathing quickened. Her mind screamed one question. Who is that sleeping in my son's bed? The boy awoke, sat up, stared at her, silent. She forced a smile. Good morning. I'll make your breakfast, okay? She stepped out, closing the door carefully behind her. Downstairs, she reached for the phone. She needed to call the neighbor, the one who told her about the legends. Then, the kitchen door creaked open. She turned and froze. The dog leapt onto the counter, growling, eyes locked on her. Rex, she whispered, no response, only rage. She backed away slowly until her back hit the laundry room door. The dog lunged. She ducked, and he flew over her, landing inside the room. She slammed the door shut and locked it. The thuds were deafening, furious, animalistic, savage. She turned toward the hallway and saw him. The boy, standing still. Son? No answer. Then his body began to twist, bones cracking, limbs elongating, skin turning pale, eyes hollowing out, teeth sharpening into a monstrous grin, a nightmare made flesh. The legends were true, creatures that wore the faces of loved ones, hunters from the woods, imposters born of curses, skinwalkers. Her blood ran cold, because now she knew her real son never came back. The creature advanced. Heavy steps echoed through the hallway. The air grew thick, suffocating. It lunged, but when it reached for her, the pendant hit her chest. Instantly, the creature recoiled. A piercing sound filled the air. Its claws stopped inches away from her skin. unable to touch, as if an invisible force had struck it back. The creature screamed, a mix of rage and pain. She ran, stumbling down the stairs, flung open the back door, and fled into the yard. The moon lit the forest, and in the distance she saw them, other figures, tall, distorted, watching. She gripped the pendant tightly and whispered a prayer, the one her neighbor had once murmured. The shadows retreated, fading into the forest. Gone. She fell to her knees, trembling, tears streaming down her face. Behind her, silence. The house, silent. Her son, missing. Moments later, a knock on the door. Her neighbor. No words, just a silent embrace. The two of them stayed there until dawn. No one would ever believe them, but they knew the forest still held its secrets and its watchers. After that night, she was never the same. She left the house days later, never looking back. Some say she moved far away. Others that she still lives nearby, caring for the old neighbor. The yard grew wild, the house overrun by silence and vines. And sometimes travelers swear they hear a dog howling on cold nights. The Appalachian Mountains have always been home to old stories, legends whispered around campfires by native tribes long before settlers came. They spoke of creatures that could wear the faces of those we love, beings cursed for breaking sacred pacts with nature. And when they take human form, the eyes are never the same. They called them Skinwalkers. The elders said that once one chooses a family, it can watch them for generations, waiting for the right moment to return. Even today, among the valleys and forests of the Appalachians, people still hang wooden totems by their doors or wear old handmade pendants with tribal markings. No one knows if they truly work, but those who live in the heart of the mountains don't take chances, because in the Appalachian Mountains, some legends never sleep.